How are you doing? Doing good? Yeah? Waking up after lunch? I'm going to take a seat here under my name. And I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Natalia. I am part of the JavaScript community, actually. But I'm here because I was invited by these awesome folks that we have here. I would like for you to introduce yourselves, what you do today.
Hey everyone, my name is Oscar Spencer. I work at F5, and I serve as the director of the technical steering committee for the Bytecode lines.
Hey, I'm Till Schneidereit. I work at Fermyon, and I serve as the Wasm time representative to the technical steering committee of the Bytecode lines.
Hello, my name is Bailey Hayes. I'm the CTO at Cosmonic. I also serve as one of the WASI co-chairs in the W3C, at-large director in the Bytecode Alliance, and a member of the TSC.
Did it work? I've got a voice. It's amazing. I'm Ralph Squillace. I'm a product manager at Microsoft, but I'm here in my capacity as a Microsoft member of the board, and I happen to be the treasurer for the Bytecode Alliance Foundation.
Great. So I guess you folks identified a gap back in the day, and then you got inspired and you founded the Bytecode Alliance. Can you let us know what inspired you and what are your goals, your objectives for the future?
This is a Till question if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, I think I can take this one. So back all the way in 2018, we were, I was leading the WebAssembly and Rust team in Mozilla Research, and we had started working on what became WASI and had started after creating the Rust Wasm toolchain and focusing on making WebAssembly great for kind of adding, in addition to the toolbox for web developers, we started focusing on outside the browser use cases, and it became clear we have something big here, and we are a small team, and we think we can change how software is being built by adding strong capabilities, fine-grained isolation, static analyzability, a sandbox that you can actually trust, all these things, portability, obviously. And it's way too big for us to go it alone. And in fact, it's not only too big, it's structurally not the right thing for anybody to go alone, because we want to change how the industry is doing software development, kind of at large. We were nothing if not ambitious. And so that's where we started having conversations that led to the creation and the announcement in late 2019 of the Bytecode Alliance.
Wow. All right, so you had a vision back in the day. How would you assess that vision has evolved from the moment you got inspired to come together and do this to today?
I want to hear it first from you, Till.
I think it is by now actually going really well with the various announcements of where we are seeing adoption in very different places, in Microsoft kind of doing big announcements of running it in exciting ways with Hyperlight, various CDNs adopting it, and whether in components form or otherwise, WebAssembly being increasingly a story to really rely on, with F5 working on integrating it into kind of the backbone of the internet in many ways. It's very exciting to see where all it is gaining a foothold. It's been for years now part of Microsoft Flight Simulator of all places. From that perspective, I think it's going really, really well. We certainly underestimated, even if, I should just say, we knew it was too big for us to go alone, and we nevertheless underestimated how big it is, how big of a lift it is. There was also this slight disruption of the world a few years back, if you remember. So that slowed us down further, but still, we thought it was not quite as big as it actually is. And Alex Crichton, who's on our team at Fermyon, who's done a lot of the heavy lifting of Wasm time, and before all of this, wrote much of the standard library, much of the initial ecosystem of Rust and Crates.io, Cargo, and so on. He recently said to me that what we are doing here is way more ambitious than what Rust was doing for Rust 1.0. So it's a huge undertaking, and we're certainly right in not being able to do it alone. It would long be dead if we had done it in our team at Mozilla. I wish we had a way to go faster. I am excited about the direction we are now seeing, and it feels very validating that we actually are a good way into realizing this vision.
Yeah, I think I'd add on to that, and I'd say the Bytecode Alliance has really provided a forum for folks, especially working on WebAssembly outside of the browser, to just have a place to all congregate, to come together and work together on the products that we all care about together. I think, standards bodies are awesome. They're great for going and just standardizing a technology. But I think in terms of having a shared mission and having shared goals that we can all build open source software together to actually solve our problems in unison, like we're not all just going and individually implementing the standards, right? We say let's all work together because we can be one bigger, better WebAssembly community if we do so.
Yeah, I mean, each of us shares the exact same runtime that we're running in our products today, which is pretty cool. Anybody remember the nano process model in that original blog post? So if you're curious about like a lot of the original visionary, pieces of the Bytecode Alliance when it was originally founded, you can go on back in time and read some of those OG blog posts. But I think if you do, and then you look at all the talks that we saw yesterday and today, you will see it fully realized in the component model. And I think that that's really incredible and powerful, and it's like we were talking about rewriting the way that we fundamentally write software, and it happened, and that's pretty darn cool. And it happened across many different folks across the industry, and in collaboration with working in open standards, but within the Bytecode Alliance, building out those implementations and iterating.
Do I got to say something? No, I mean, the interesting thing for me is to listen to everybody here and then also think about our own involvement, because fundamentally, I and many people have lived the container epoch, right? And containers were amazing things when you found them. And 10 or 12 years later, you're now bruised and hurting because you bashed your head against all the things they can't do and limitations that they create. And so the idea of being able to just do a language that you're a master of, and an environment that you're a master of, and compile into something that executes without multi-arch builds or huge images and things like this, that vision is a beautiful thing. And so for us, we always wanted to get back to that experience. And we have the capability of doing it here, and even among languages. And I think that's really great. And that's one of the driving ideas that we've had.
So you spoke about vision, about motivation, but you organize as a board with roles, I guess. What's the strategy, and how each of you influence that strategy?
Well, I'll jump in really right away as a board member and not as an active engineer on the projects. Really, the board isn't, it just maintains the structure and organizational health of the foundation, but it isn't actually important in any way. The foundation doesn't charge huge fees, so it's got really a tremendous sliding scale that is tailored to supporting all the engineers. And so one of the interesting points about the foundation is that the board has really very little power. We look after legal protection and IP and stuff like that. And after that, it's all the TSC. So the real power at Microsoft, at the Bytecode Alliance, right, are the engineers in the TSC and not the board. And that's different.
All right, so tell me about this technical steering committee. How do you influence WebAssembly future?
Yeah, so I'll say this. You know, the technical steering committee, it certainly sounds like, okay, we're steering everything technically.
Right.
But I'd say the main goal of the technical steering committee is really to be servants to all of the recognized contributors of the Bytecode Alliance. And so if you think of all of the contributors as a hive mind, we sort of are the people that sort of speak on behalf of all the recognized contributors. It's our job to go and, one, facilitate the recognized contributor program. So, you know, getting people into the community, letting them meet other folks in the community to work on the projects that they care about. So there's that aspect of it. But then the second half of it is, okay, we also do have a degree of, hey, if something maybe a maintainer of a project is busy and a massive CVE comes out, there needs to be someone on the hook who can, you know, step in and take care of issues like that. And that's the job of the TSC. And of course, that's also getting into maybe sometimes we have technical disagreements on, hey, maybe this, like, what is the path forward on this thing? And so we help step in and try and get folks together to resolve those and get everyone on the same page so we're all building towards this one shared goal that we have. And I'm sure, Bailey, you probably have additional thoughts too.
Yeah, over the last 2 years, working with the other members of the TSC at the time, with Till and Nick, we worked really hard on creating a set of hosted and core requirements that aligned with the Bytecode Alliance mission. How do we make sure that the sandbox that we're building remains a sandbox? How do we keep it secure? How do we keep it fast and performant and something that everybody across the industry can build on top of? And you know, I'm the recognized contributor rep to the board, so the role that I've really tried to lean in on is listening to the recognized contributors and where do they need help? Where do they need guidance? Do we need to talk about fuzzing? Do we need to rally around getting a maintainer in a specific project? I think folks are probably a little bit, you know, they're used to me asking them a lot of questions every meeting we get into because, you know, what I'm trying to find is the best ways to support the recognized contributors because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are doing all the work.
I think one thing I'd add on to that as well is sort of Ralph mentioned that the board doesn't really do things other than like maybe, you know, legal stuff and approve some of the finances. Although members of the board are quite technical, whenever anything actually technical comes up at a board meeting, it's okay, we'll send that off to the TSC, we'll have them deliberate, either they're either experts in that particular topic or they know who the experts are in the recognized contributor program, you know, gather the data and then, you know, take it back to the board and say, okay, yeah, we want to fund this initiative or we want to take on, you know, getting more maintainers for this project or we want to invest further in fuzzing and make sure all of our projects are doing good security techniques like that. So it's really all about, you know, serving the recognized contributors and just sort of keeping all of the Bytecode Alliance projects, you know, in tip-top shape.
Okay, so how do you reach out to these contributors? How do you identify them and onboard them into the Alliance?
Yeah, I would say that recognized contributors, they appear and are recognized, obviously, by their peers. But what I mean is all of our projects are open source, and they're just these incredible people all around the world that show up out of nowhere. We don't usually know them yet. We know them by their GitHub handle, and then they're just coming in and doing amazing work. And at some point, you send them a DM on Zulp, and you're like, what are you doing? You know, what brought you here? And man, you're awesome. And I think you get recognized usually by the maintainer of that project is probably the most common. But then the TSC function is we also go and review all of our Bytecode Alliance projects and look for some of those regular contributors, keep an eye out for newcomers and, you know, greet them, welcome them into the space. And I think, you know, just also should take a moment and thank all of our recognized contributors because you're what makes the Bytecode Alliance an alliance. So thank you, and keep doing the good work.
Yeah, certainly. If you're a recognized contributor, your introduction to the program probably was similar to mine, which is you're just going about your business, and then all of a sudden, someone says, "Hey, we want to recognize you for contributing. Like, come join this." And then now, all of a sudden, you actually feel like a part of the Bytecode Alliance. You have an opportunity to vote on who represents you. You have opportunities to participate in new forums that you maybe didn't have before. And I think it's just an incredible way for us all to come together.
And there's one other cool thing about the engineering, and that is that there's no membership that's required to participate in anything at all. And so you can actually be a board member coming up through the TSC, recognized contributor program and everything, without having ever paid a cent to anyone or without having any corporate, push or anything like that. That's really unique. That's really unique.
Yeah, and just to tag on to that, you don't have to be an engineer just committing to projects every single day. There are so many ways to contribute to the Bytecode Alliance, whether it's documentation, whether it's evangelism, whether it's, hey, you write a couple blog posts every year. There are so many ways to contribute, and we try to make sure that we're recognizing all of our contributors, not just the purely technical ones.
That is a really important one, I think, and you're a peer to people who do engineering, and neither do you need to do engineering, nor do you need to be associated with a member organization. So becoming a member of the Bytecode Alliance really is you're supporting the mission and vision of the Bytecode Alliance. You're not buying influence. There's no way to buy influence. In particular, so we talked about the difference between the board and the TSC. I don't think we really addressed where does the TSC come from. It comes purely from these elections, and then I mentioned in the introductions that I'm the Wasm time delegate to the TSC. That's Wasm time is a core project, and with that comes as it's a recognition of the importance and strong adherence to the principles of the Bytecode Alliance, and it comes with the privilege of being able to choose a TSC delegate to, without going through otherwise the elections. And Oscar and Bailey are two of the three other people. Andrew Brown from Intel is the last one who are on the TSC elected by the recognized contributors. And that's really, those are the only two paths. And so that means it's really fully bottom up. And as we discussed, the TSC is the top level body of governance. It decides on is something adherent to the mission? Do we have to steer? Do we have to provide more guidance? How do we document the principles and the requirements for hosted projects and so on?
I think that's a very important clarification. Myself, I'm a member of the OpenJS Foundation, and this is something that we try to make clear. There is no way to influence in a way that shouldn't be. Okay, so suppose I want to build something in WebAssembly, and I want to be part of your community, of your your alliance. What am I supposed to expect? Can you summarize what am I getting from you if I become part of this as a contributor, as a member?
Yeah, I would say probably the most common path, right, is perhaps your employer is interested in getting started with WebAssembly, and you're starting with a POC, you're brand new to the technology, what do? We recommend going to our component model book, and that's got a really great guide on getting started. The next thing to do is to select your runtime. We have 2 runtimes in the Bytecode Alliance, Wasm time and Whammer. And then the third thing that you'll do is figure out how to build for your chosen language. So how to build a component or a WebAssembly module in the language of your choice. And so what you would do is go likely to one of the componentized hyphen language SDKs that we have in the Bytecode Alliance. Most of those have really good examples in those repositories, and you can walk through. The component model book also takes you through all of that for your language tooling. And so that will get you your initial POC. But then I think the next step in this path is fairly common today, which is they hop on Zulip and they've got some really great questions for all of us. And so there's a Bytecode Alliance Zulip that I recommend everybody join. And I think we've got this really wonderful community there where people are really active and love answering questions. And especially when somebody's brand new to the space, we're like, join us. So don't be afraid to ask your question.
I don't know if people know this, but One of the only thing that management or overhead people like me on the board do is they check the sort of the statistics about the Zulip and who's participating. We haven't quite reached it yet, but there are almost 3,000 people on the Zulip. And so part of joining that community is sharing in all of that knowledge. And when it's that many people, there are niche cases that there's an expert in somewhere in that group of people. Sure, absolute numbers are cool, but we're running somewhere between 150 and 200 active daily message communications in various aspects of the Zulip too. And to have the kind of skill set where it's 250 people are daily available across a huge swath of functionality, either main functionality or niche functionality, is also just an incredible resource to be able to tap wherever you are in the world and pretty much almost at any hour with very few delays. And that's a rare kind of community is to be a part of and to benefit from.
Okay. Tell us about the most exciting things you're working on today. What are those programs you're cooking?
Oscar, tell them about GC.
Well, so there's a lot of different work across the ecosystem, but in terms of like GC, we all love the component model. We're super excited about it, and now as we're having more high-level languages coming into the fray here, hey, we need support for GC languages in the component model. So that's something that's coming down the pipeline. But I don't even understand how you could say GC without saying WASI Preview 3.
Okay, yeah, I'm most excited about WASI P3. Well, also, the Java talk later today, both of those, you can hold two most important things at once. And yes, WASI P3, we are full steam ahead in implementation and iterating with the folks in the WASI subgroup on coming up with the right specs. There's, also, thank you, Joel Dice, for the async implementation, Alex Crichton and the Wasm time async implementation, Roman, who's been working on implementing the WASI crates inside Wasm time to get us some iteration there, and Victor, Guy Bedford. I mean, there's just so many people that are collaborating right now in the Bytecode Alliance to make this real, and it is very close.
And new people. So many of those are new people, which is great.
Yeah. Wow.
That's actually a really exciting point to see kind of an influx of new people who get up to speed and where it feels like we are managing to lower the barriers to entry over time. Bailey has been doing amazing work on community outreach that I think really helps with this. And we are obviously also seeing more interest, so more people seeing, hey, this can solve my requirements. I have a reason to contribute and to not only scratch my own itches, but also to give back, to contribute. Otherwise, P3, obviously async. I'm also very excited about the use cases that have been possible for a while, but are now realized, like the virtual platform layering Fastly, or using fine-grained isolation to improve performance in very, very real, massive ways, even though it seems like, hey, aren't you introducing overhead? No, if you ran the same things without isolation, yes, but you are not. You would run them in a different process on a different node, maybe. And so instead, you now get to run them with much less overhead in the same place, allowing you to do this kind of layering and actually speeding things up. And that's, I think, so on the use cases level, that's one of the most exciting things for me.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that performance aspect up. And from a challenges perspective, in terms of security and performance, what do you think are the highest challenges that you met for WebAssembly?
I'd say it's definitely maintainership. I think, we have so many lovely projects inside of the BA, and I think that's fantastic. But with all of our projects, we need more folks to maintain all of our projects. We want to make sure that every project is in tip-top shape, it's got proper maintainers, we're handling security vulnerabilities. We just want to make sure we're on top of everything. I think, just speaking, not just for the Bytecode Alliance, but for the entire WebAssembly community, the last thing we need is a zero-day exploit in some WebAssembly-related thing. We talk all the time about the security of the Wasm sandbox, and that's only as true, it's as good as your runtime is. Like, that's the case there. So we want to make sure, and it's not just our runtimes, it's all of our projects are adhering to those standards. So I think we're certainly making sure that we're finding new contributors, we're bringing folks in, and making sure people feel empowered to be a maintainer of a project. Because it's kind of scary. And you just handing someone the keys and saying, hey, yeah, here you go, like, you're on it. But I think we want to just make sure that we're really getting more people into those kinds of positions.
Okay. Speaking about these people that you want to bring over, we already addressed how you can become a member or how you can get involved. What about decision making? Is anyone allowed to at least participate of the meetings that you hold? Be there present?
Yeah, all of our meetings are public, so anyone is welcome to join. You do not have to be a recognized contributor. Your organization does not need to be a member of the Bytecode Alliance. If you are interested, then that is all that it takes to join one of our meetings. So please come in. We want to take your feedback, whether it's implementing or you're learning, and our documentation has areas to improve. We want to hear it. We want to collaborate, and so come to the meetings. That is basically where decisions are decided by the folks working on the problems at hand. It's not like, some secret, room where we're like, this is how everything's going to be done. It is not like that at all. And in terms of, so that's implementation decision. And then as far as what is being implemented, everything that we do is tightly aligned to standards. So whether it's the WASI subgroup, the WebAssembly community group standards, whether it's TC39, in any one of these areas, that is one of our key requirements to be part of the Bytecode Alliance.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll also throw in, the meetings are fantastic, and that's definitely the place that you should come. If for whatever reason you don't feel comfortable or you don't feel like you have the opportunity to speak up in a meeting, anyone on the TSC is more than happy to meet with you. We love to listen to everything that you have to say, all the things that are troubling you, all the things that you think are amazing. We want to hear it. And if necessary, we'll take action on your behalf. We'll bring up the issues that you care about and make sure that folks are talking about them and there's proper discourse about it. And then I'll also take the opportunity to say, the Bytecode Alliance is completely separate from all of the actual WebAssembly standards, including the WASI standards. So all of the work on the actual standards happen in those standards bodies. The Bytecode Alliance is really here to collaborate on implementations of those standards. So that is one thing. So if you come to me saying, I really hate this spec, I might not be able to help you with that. I'll help you get to the right people. I'll help you prepare your presentation for the actual standards meetings, but I might not have any power over that.
Ralph, you wanted to say something?
Oh, it was going to be much along those lines. The Bytecode Alliance created several of the proposals that eventually became part of the W3C spec. But those proposals were conversations amongst the community originally, and all in the public, in the repos, in the Zulip, and everything like that. But the actual vote is a W3C vote. And that involves people who are not in the Bytecode Alliance, involves the browsers and the JavaScript engines and everybody who's in the W3C in the WebAssembly group. So that distinction between what the Bytecode Alliance community decides is a great proposal to talk to the W3C group about, that we help with, and we have done before. So that's one way to think about how we can help with the specs. But it is important to realize that the work in the W3C group is a different level of socialization, familiarization, persuasion, and conversation that is sort of got a line between the Bytecode Alliance and what happens at the W3C Other people propose things to the W3C too, not just the Bytecode Alliance. We're just one organization working there as well.
Quickly, so I guess that the meetings calendar is published somewhere and folks can take a look at that. Before we go, any questions, anything that we haven't addressed that you would like to ask? No?
We're tired.
Thank you so much then. Thank you.
Thank you.